it, they hate it. I forget what the cycles are, right? They go through those cycles, and now it's in their treasuries. I love that tweet that Richard made one time. It was like, oh, scam, 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 5K scam, and it's like 10,000, put it in our treasuries. So it's just having to fight the FUD and having to constantly reassure yourselves that we're in the right place. Can be daunting, but in my opinion, as long as we keep doing the research and keep putting one foot forward in front of the other, I think we're ultimately going to continue to find that Pulsechain is something different. We've been in crypto looking for something different. And I mean, the community is different. I think any newcomers that come in and, get involved with what Pulsechain is and watching what the 414 wallet's doing, maybe listening to some old Richard Hart videos. There's an ethos and a community like overall viewpoint, not just a crypto viewpoint, right? But there's like it's deeper than that. It's like another level of that. Like there's people that I'm talking with that, I'm like, hey, let's do something with liquidity and this, and they have, no clue what I'm talking about, which is fine. It's just, it just lets you know that we're still ahead of the game, and also lets other people know that you're not behind the game either. I believe Pulsechain's not going to need a lot of value for you to be able to pump into it for it to do some of these crazy numbers. I think PDI itself is still like 200 plus X away from parity. How long or will any of this take? I mean, not quite sure, but I do know there's continue positioning yourself for success, especially in Pulsechain. And I really do feel like it's going to be something that's going to be a life-changing opportunity. I was looking at the 414 wallet. It looks like he bought another 82 million hex. I don't know if that was last week. But yeah, I think he bought and staked another 82 million hex. He had like 956 million hex, and a lot of it, loads of it staked. So, if you like 414 and you like PDI, I think some of the this is one of the things that I believe that we're kind of waiting to hear is what's going to be used to collateralize the PDI. When will that be activated? Will it be a community ran thing? Will it be pushed? And ultimately, I don't, but I do know those guys are smarter than me. And it's the same I reached it years ago. So that's what I get excited about. It's like if I think about something that sounds cool, like of course these guys thought. So if you had a bunch of hex at the very beginning of hex, and you paired it with, okay, let's say it was really low. Let's just say we can do it right now. Let's say 1 million hex is $1,000. It's a little bit more than 1,000, but and you put a stable coin on the other end, right? Not PDI, but EDI and EHEX, whatever it is. And then if it runs back to all-time highs at 52 cents or 50 cents, just to say 50, you would have 500K hex and 500K EDI on the other side of that liquidity pool. Like people can't quite understand how powerful that asset could technically be if it also had the ability to be collateralizing DAI. And I believe that's ultimately why I think, and that was the one piece that seemed to be missing, which now he has, and then leverage it by launching it with PDI now as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know a lot of people have it's been rough on everybody, but ultimately watching charts and being upset about it is one thing, but going in and trying to DCA and continue building a community and doing it, doing your part within that community is, actually working for your bags. Pulsechain is definitely a grassroots. Some of it is a grassroots approach. A lot of people still don't know about Pulsechain. A lot of people that still find their way into to our community, they're like, oh well, but at least they're going in and looking about it, learning about it, and once they find out about it, it's usually a positive experience. So that's what we want. This for a brand new chain to have organic growth, and then users that want to use the chain, and then be able to utilize these specific functions that we think could be absolutely monumental and life-changing for people. And of course, not financial advice, but just over time, I feel like people will find out, especially when you're talking about institutional money flowing into the space. People are eventually going to find their way, I believe, to Pulsechain and Hex, because it's going to be likely one of the only couple non-institutional run protocols that kind of exist, especially since some institutional protocols copied exactly what Hex did, right? So there was a reason why they did that. There was a reason why they launched and did a lot of the same and mimicked a lot of the same behaviors of Hex and Pulsechain. That I'm still trying to figure out exactly how it works. I do know that they raised set like $1 billion between the Swiss bank and Consensus. You know, he's like the one of the Ethereum co-founders. So there's a lot of big names, a lot of big value. And then if you look at the, speaking of like value you can't see, right? Go look at if you go read the WISE token, you'll see that it's got a $13 million market cap, but a $250 million liquidity. So it's a very unique. It kind of it's the opposite of Hex, right? So Hex, well, it's not quite the opposite, but you just can't see that value. That value was either translated and transferred onto Gnosis chain whenever they did that, or there's a way for them to wrap, and then that value can then not be tracked via the chain. And there are ways for people to do that on Ethereum, and ultimately another reason why Ethereum was forked and some of these rules changed on Pulsechain. The consensus changed, so it's a different consensus model, and the outside network of what you can utilize for the consensus code was a little bit different as well. So usually, like on ETH, you stake into a big pool, and then everyone goes in and they can, it's just a big pool that you stake into. Pulsechain, you create your own node, you run your own 32 million, or you can, there are other protocols that allow you to, put less in. But ultimately, the actual consensus model is, get 32 ETH. Good luck. If you don't have 32 ETH, go find another pool, and then. But on Pulsechain, it's 32 million. It's actually a reasonable value, but there are protocols out there that you can stake for like 16 million. And it's just funny to me that there's 48,000 validators and maybe 6 to 10 public RPCs. It's not a bad thing. It just lets you know that there's a whole nother layer, literally layer, that we're going to be stepping into. And that's like in 2021, it was DEXs. The technology is what pushed and strove and drove the actual innovation for DeFi itself was, DEXs and being able to trade 24/7, provide liquidity, and all these unique ways to create value and to bring and capture new audiences. This is bigger because the scalability of this type of technology is not only horizontal, but it's also vertical. So this is exactly what, in my opinion, an institution or any company any bank that's trying to get rid of the asset that they're holding and sell it into another asset, they would want to do it privately, and they would probably want to do it at the very bottom, and they wouldn't want us to know that they're doing it. If I had $1 billion, I would wait for all of us to leave too. I mean, it's it's hard to prove, but that's Anchor, like one of Anchor's protocols, like that's what they do is they go off and they literally build side chains for institutions for this exact type of network where you can literally move your eDAI, you can move your DAI on and off your own chain. What functionalities are on that chain are up to you and the people that operate on that chain. So I do think we will see an influx. Where I got started off finding SDAI, all the leveraging that SDAI is able to create and all the value that it has since created, over the past few months for MakerDAO, for Aave. It's an actual fork of Aave, so it's a lending protocol, pretty much decentralizing MakerDAO. MakerDAO will soon only exist on Ethereum, Pulsechain, and there is a form of it on, I believe, like Gnosis chain. So they're kind of getting away with their whole DAO type system in it, so to speak, and they're decentralizing DAI by utilizing blockchain and bigger community and different communities. So it's not just one community voting on one thing. It seemingly looks like it's going to be like a democratized stablecoin, and it's going to be going up against USDC. And you've already seen people or companies like USDT which is the biggest stable coin, start making power moves, understanding that, they had to do something to start competing with DAI and SDAI, to stay relevant, right? The stablecoin market is probably one of the biggest markets and one of the most influential ones to watch as far as when the markets will run. Um, right now, you can kind of throw out all of these. I'm not really a technical analysis type person. I'm more of a, I feel the moment, feel what people are, just the actual emotion, and just kind of ride the waves. Don't really watch charts because I'm terrible at it. So I just kind of stick to the more personal side of things and analytical, not quite analytical, but more of an analog type of viewpoint. Kind of just being able to, share what I believe Pulsechain is and what it could do, and showing that and proving that, I believe, with, a lot of fact. And then people within my community going out and utilizing some of these skills, and even more so expanding on some of this skill set, and then coming back and just like, it's been an awesome experience for a lot of us in the community. Contract itself between humans that's being manipulated or being changed, right? But blockchain is these contracts. You can revoke a contract as well. So not only can you agree, but you can go back and disagree with a contract on the blockchain as well, right? So if someone goes out and you accidentally hit a button, you can run back and revoke it, right? Um, it's all about, understanding those little models and how this ties to real freedom of speech, which is why Richard Hart always touches on that. Go ahead, if someone else wants to jump in.
Hey Riggs, how are you?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
I'm great. I wanted to take a minute and just tell people like the cool things that you can do on Pulsechain. So,
Love it. Go ahead.
so there's when Riggs talks about bringing coins to parity and the PRC copies, there's a lot of copies that use the same contract address from Ethereum, and those same copies, that same contract address is on Pulsechain. With it's the P copy of the Ethereum version, and the liquidity is so low on these coins that, well, not on all of them, and actually the liquidity is building on a lot of them. But you can find tokens out there, copied ERC20 tokens that have 100, 200, $300 of liquidity on V1 and V2, and that's it on the whole chain. So let's say if you found a PRC20 copy of a token and it has $100 in liquidity. If you took $50 and market bought $50 worth of this token, the price would go up 50%. So now you have a token whose price that you just bought up 50%. If you took another $50 and bought again, then it would be, the you would raise that market price, 45%. But the first purchase you made would be up 50%. And so now you've taken $100 and purchased $100 of tokens, but you actually have $145 in value. So this is the opportunity that we've been given is these tokens with the low liquidity. You could take hundreds of dollars and make thousands of dollars of value from a couple $100. Now we're all in crypto so like I'm sure most of us have at least, I'm sure we have some bags on the side. I don't want to give like numbers, but let's say you have $1,000 worth of Pulse, right? If you were to take $100, a couple $100, and find a PRC20 copy that has low liquidity, you could buy up that, you could, market buy that price, like, $20, $30 at a time until you've accumulated $1,000 worth of value, and then pair that with $1,000 of value with Pulse. Now you've just created a $2,000 liquidity pool, and in total you've spent maybe $1,300, $1,000 in Pulse, and $200 or $300 buying up the PRC copy. And what you do, so when that happens, so now that you've spent a couple $100 buying up that other copy, you probably have $700 left of the others of that PRC copy. So now you have this. I don't want to say free value because it's not free, but it's a discounted value, and now you have this other value that the the best way to make something of that is to pair that up with something else. And so, this is what I've been doing. I came across.
Yeah, it's just
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
like hex, right? Yeah, no, you're right. No, I was going to explain it real quick. So yeah, you have that extra market cap to play with versus the liquidity. So it's not made up value, but it just gives you this extra value to move around on chain, and that's where that value is coming from. And yeah, it's definitely a very unique case when it comes to pulse chain and people being able to understand and actually be able to utilize and move that value around. Uh, because honestly, what also is he doing? Every liquidity pool that you make with those tokens is another arbitrage and another chart for the arbitrage bots to trade volume into and value into. And they're just, they'll go off and trade hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions a day. And just all they're doing is just moving liquidity around. So like there's a lot of this stuff we've tested. Moonboot literally has done some of this stuff live in the VC, as he's talking about it, we're watching him do it. So it's definitely been a good little experiment. I'll let you go back to it though.
Um, what was I? Oh, I came across. You know what? So like, I came. I happened to when I was looking for crypto groups to join, I happened to come across Sunny, uh, and I stumbled at he makes his DBank wallet available publicly, and so I came across his wallet, and I saw the value in it. The only reason I'm talking about his wallet is because it's public and he's posted about it, and so like it was him that posted it, and so I was looking at it, and I'm like, man, I was like, how did he do this? How did he do this? And he created an LP ecosystem. Now he does it his own way, but the thing that we can all do, like being in pulse chain, and if you want to grow wealth, is provide liquidity, and that's what he did. Like I provided liquidity with the PRC copy of Pancake Swap, and I provided 100,000 pulse and 100,000 pulse worth of cake, and it just happened. It just so happened that day the thing freaking ripped. Later on that day, it ripped. And then I looked at it a couple days later. I didn't do anything. I just kind of let it chill. I looked at it just the other day. It was maybe a month ago. I looked at it the other day, and I have triple the amount of pulse that I started with and triple the amount of cake that I started with. And now that pool has liquidity. Before it didn't have liquidity, and now it has liquidity. And so, like, I really encourage people, like, if you get that opportunity, you know, figure, join our Telegram group, join the Telegram group, and there's some information.
On first of all your story and then what you're doing. I'm glad I'm part of it. I was wondering if we can touch on summer finance and how we can get some yield of of SDAI or stables. And I haven't used it yet, and I've seen different protocols have their APYs and their different liquidity. So I was wondering if you can maybe give a little intro
Yeah.
on that.
The first phase is that we need farms. We need value to make value. So the first step would be to us utilize farms for us to pool funds together so we can then maximize that exposure. Uh, don't want to share too much about it because I've done so much research that I want to make sure that we and partners and people that I speak with, we actually get to benefit from it. But yeah, Summer Finance is a protocol that was launched by Maria, not 414 Maria, another Maria, coincidentally enough. I don't think she's the dev, but she's now just like a project guide or guiding force. But yeah, she used to work at MakerDAO, used to work at Aave, and there's like four, maybe five. Did they keep going? Spark is all over the place. If you can't even like these guys do much more than any other protocol I've seen in such a short period of time. From their voting, all the twists and turns everywhere that they've launched. and the value that they're at in minting as well, like the DAI stablecoin minting 150 billion back in May. It was just like, okay, these guys are up to something, right? And then I think it was not even a week later, not SDAI, but USDC and USDT started implementing the ability to use SDAI, so that 20x leverage can now be spread out, so it's not just solely targeted on USDC, or I'm sorry, DAI. So now, you know, you can utilize it with USDC, you can utilize it with USDT. But yeah, there definitely is functionalities. I'm in the US, so I can't personally use it. But yeah, there are connections, and but ultimately, the more value you can have, the more value you can make out of these protocols. Because ultimately, from what you can literally go and read some of this, they're longing and shorting stable coins. They're even shorting DAI. But if you have, just for example, $1 billion stable coin pool that is, say, USDC and DAI, and you push USDC down 2 cents, right? And then you ARB that entire USDC side with the more DAI, you would eat all that profit of, you know, and literally mint. I don't know what the number would be, but you know, a couple million, at least maybe 20 million stablecoin value on the other end of that trade.